Guys, it's Kate. I hope you're having a great day. I wanted to do a 2-page journal spread today and I wanted to work with a limited palette. So I took out my blue, red, and yellow, and I have the colors I use noted in the screen, along with some titanium white for mixing, and I'm just going to run off with my colors. So first, I wanted to mix a few neutrally kind of colors for the background, and I'm painting over a pre-painted background. If you guys don't know already, I like to pre-paint my sketchbook sheets just to either give me some beginning inspiration or to lay down just an extra protective coat, because I like to use a sketchbook for my art journal. So the pages are a little bit thinner than mixed media paper or watercolor paper or something like that. So I'm going through and just covering that over with my new colors, and I'm just sort of mixing as I go and just putting all the colors together until I get something that I like. And I'm kind of sticking with sort of a bluish gray color palette for the background, but leaning neutral. And if you haven't mixed colors before, it's kind of a fun challenge just to work with a limited palette. I don't even have black today. Although if you wanted to do kind of a black, you can mix all your colors together and they'll be pretty dark if you don't add white. So I just wanted to do a bit of a darker base and then a little bit of a brighter green over the rest of the layers. So I have kind of a teal color that I mixed. And I'm going back in to fill out the middle with a little bit closer to gray. And I'm just adding white to lighten it to a shade that I like, so it all kind of blends together in the background, and I'm just sweeping back and forth with my flat brush. So once that dries, I'm going to go in and add a little bit of a lighter color to the background for another layer, and I'm just kind of adjusting my colors with my palette knife until I get something that I like. And one of the nice things about working with a limited palette like this is that all your colors will pretty much go together. You won't have any, glaring colors that look like they don't belong. So it's kind of a nice way to get your colors to look pretty cohesive also. So I'm using my fan brush for this one, and I'm also adding a little bit of water to get it to spread better. If you have pretty thick acrylic paint, you can add just a little bit of extra water to your brush. And acrylic paint, you can dilute it. I know that there's some depending on your brand and quality, you can dilute it more or less with water without worrying about it. But since I'm not selling this, I'm just using it for an art journal, I don't really mind. And I'm actually barely diluting it just to thin it out enough to spread, which is totally fine. You can also use acrylic medium, and that will work just fine as well. I think the main concern is with binder to make sure that the paint keeps on sticking. So now that I'm into my flowers, I just was in a flowery mood. So I wanted to make kind of a floral spread and just make some kind of abstract-y flowers. So I'm just playing with my filbert brush and mixing colors that are a little bit brighter so that they stand out from the background, and putting in some reddish, pinkish flowers, adding in some blue, and just making them a little bit gradiated. And I'm doing kind of like a lavender to the left, some closed buds. They're all just imaginary flowers, so they're just whatever kind of looks good on the page. I'm just doing some different shapes. And then I want a little bit of variation with the color, so I'll be just kind of mixing as I go, adding in yellow here or blue there, and making sure that I can get a variety of values so that they look a little bit more 3D. So I'll add some white for some different highlight spots and stuff like that. So I've really loved these little exercises I've been doing lately because it gives me some practice, and I've also been kind of delving a little bit more into more detailed painting as I kind of go along in my art journey. I have been just finding more things that are interesting to me, things that I want to practice, and I want to challenge myself more. And I actually sat down not too long ago and painted a bird that wasn't on film. And it was my first oil painting ever. So I may introduce that a little bit into my YouTube channel, but I'd like to explore more with different styles and different techniques. And so I think this will be a really good outlet for that. And I hope that if that's interesting to you, let me know in the comments below and I can kind of work that into some of my videos. When I first started my channel back, well, I guess 7 or 8 months ago now, I didn't really have a specific direction I was going to go in. I just wanted to kind of have fun painting and journaling and collaging and learn as I go and experiment and do exercises. And I love being able to share that with you. So I really love the feedback that I get. And I really appreciate all of you for watching and just supporting this channel, and it keeps me going. So I really appreciate all of you. And I hope that you enjoy these videos. But it's interesting how you kind of gain confidence over time and practice and everything. And this YouTube channel has really helped me with that to be more consistent. And knowing that I have to sit down and do some things, it keeps me going and keeps me practicing and getting better. So I think seeing the progress over my last videos, the videos have been better as far as editing quality from my first ones that I put up. But I think I'm able to do some more exploring, and I've really enjoyed the watercolor landscapes and things like that. And this is such great playtime. So I've been kind of grabbing my white. I put in some white flowers for some extra contrast, and I'm also going over some of my other flowers with some brighter white and adding a little bit more to my plate here, which makes a wonderful palette, by the way. I had some extra lying around, and it's just so nice to be able to kind of hold it under the camera so you can see the colors that I'm mixing. And I'm just going over to add some more contrast to, we'll call it lavender. It's not really, but I had added some other color over that original and it kind of knocked it back into the background a little bit. So I added some white to put some contrast back in, and now I'm going in and putting in some centers in my flowers. As I've kind of painted, I sort of revisit my other pieces as they dry a little bit so that my paint's not all mixing together. And I also want to add some variety. So you'll see I kind of vary the color of my flowers and also the center areas. And I'm bringing out my smaller round brush to add some more details. And I think that that really makes some things pop, especially the centers when you have that sort of dark background and you add in a lighter color over the top, and it just adds some nice texture. So now I'm kind of mixing together a nice darker color with some water mixed in to make it spread better, and I'm going to start adding in my flower stems. And I will vary those a bit too. because I'm just kind of exploring the different colors that I can come up with out of this batch. And so you'll see some brighter greens, some darker greens, and maybe even some bluish gray greens. And you can get an awful lot of variety from your primaries. So while I'm going through my stems, I'm just mixing some new colors, adding some earthier tones, and getting nice and dark, and just kind of going down, making some looser marks, and deciding where I want everything to join up. And I've got several different flower elements, and I wanted to put those in first before any of my stems, while I kind of built out my journal page where I wanted everything to go. And then on those buds, I'm just putting some of that color up there, for the, I don't know what it's called, but the little leaves that kind of go around the new buds. And so I wanted to kind of get those nice and tucked in. And then I'll be adding some more color for my other flowers. And I really love those little white flowers. I thought they looked really cute with the rest of everything, and they just add that little pop of brightness on kind of a neutral page. And I'm just being very loose with those stems. It's just a journal that I'm playing around with. So just adding those hints there instead of making the big solid lines. And then putting in the last one, getting in a nice dark color there for my last white flower. And I'm making kind of rough leaves on that one just to change it up a bit. And then I'm kind of looking over my paper just to see if there's anything that I missed or any flowers that don't have connections. And then I'm going to go back in and make a little bit of adjustments on some of my leaves and add in some more color just to give it some more interest. And so I'll kind of go through adding in some little highlight areas and just making sure everything has some interest added. And I really love doing this page. I think altogether I spent about a half an hour on it minus dry time. And it was so much fun to do. It's actually one of my favorite pages that I've done recently. I've got this sketchbook that is slowly filling up. It's one that I only use for YouTube. So eventually I'll be able to have a nice little page through video to kind of go over the progress so far. And that's pretty exciting too, to kind of flip through and see, all the different things that we've done together. I'm actually looking at it right now while I'm recording this voiceover. And I've got a long way to go, but I am very, very happy with the progress. I seem to be kind of weighted toward watercolor on my channel, but I really do love working with acrylics, and it's one of the first paints I ever used. It's so controllable and opaque. So watercolor has its own challenges, and they're both a lot of fun to work with. So hopefully you try both yourself if you haven't. So I'm just adding in some more white in some areas just to make sure I've got some good highlights. I kind of overdo it a little bit on the white flower, or not the white flower, the red flower on the right, the big one. But I end up going over that and kind of knocking some of that back. So if you ever do, anything is always correctable. So I just wanted to make sure there were enough bright pops of color so that everything didn't just kind of blend together in sort of a neutral pile of colors. So then I go back in with some pinks and kind of tone down that white. But I love the texture that it brings, and I think if I had to pick my favorite flower on the page, it would be the larger white one toward the center with the scraggly leaves. I liked how the petals turned out, and it was kind of like that grayish white with the yellow center. I really enjoyed making that one. So I'm just putting in my finishing touches and getting everything to look how I want it to, and still playing around a little bit with color. And it's just a lot of fun to make this page. And then we're going to be pretty close to calling it good. And I'll get you a close-up of all of the flowers on the journal pages. One of my favorite parts is at the end of a journal project, I like to slide out my construction paper from the back, or my cardstock really, that I use for my page protection, and I love seeing it without all that in the background. So this is the finished project, and you can see the close-up, all the different brush strokes and colors, and this is what you can do, and even more than this, on a very, very limited color palette. So I hope you grab some of your colors you have on hand, and you can make a lot of art without a lot. So I hope you have a great day, and until next time, keep creating.